certainly the flashiest one I can think of. But like I was saying though, with the 3D platformer like the open world kind like Super Mario 64, I feel like you need to um just the main character has to be like either like quicker or have some sort of I can't even think of how to word it. Something like Spyro the Dragon, for
Hmm.
example. I liked it because you could run everywhere and there was gliding and everything, and then everything was very quick.
Hmm.
And then you have games like Gex 2 for the N64
I don't
where
really know the Gex series.
I uh I was a big I was big into Gex as a kid. I had the first two. I think I borrowed the third one for a little while. I don't know. But the first one was just a 2D platformer. Second one was a lot like Mario 64. But
Hmm.
like the controls, going back to them now, they are everything is just so slow feeling, like kind of sluggish,
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
that's
it is kind
exactly
of
how
a
it
slow
felt.
game.
Yeah, and I think you need to have some sort of I don't know something to push it along a bit faster,
Hmm.
like with a charge feature in Spyro, for example.
Well, they did have the long jump, and you can get around pretty quickly with that, but it's kind of counterintuitive, I guess
Yeah,
you
and then
could
you have
say.
your have you seen the videos on YouTube and whatnot of people they bounce up backwards
Uh,
up the stairs
yeah.
immediately to the final boss battle?
um, I actually didn't beat Mario 64 until right before Galaxy 1 came out, and that was the DS version, and it was okay. I mean, I wasn't really compelled to get all the stars like I was in the Galaxy games or the coins in the new Mario games.
Yeah.
Um, it's just you kind of have to wrangle the controls a little bit, and this might be the DS's fault. You know, it didn't have an analog stick,
Hmm.
so you had to like, you know, that game also had a run button, but it was kind of another compromise because of the digital D-pad. You know.
Hmm. Speaking of analog sticks, though, here's a complaint I'm going to throw out about the 3DS and the new Wii U.
Hmm.
I do not like the sticks. It's the same kind. It's or not exactly the same, but it's similar to the kind that they had on the PSP. And the one on the PSP I thought was
Mm.
just completely unusable because it was just so awkward.
As someone who's only touched a PSP and a 3DS for like 5 minutes total so far in my life, um, I think the PSP's problem was that it was very tiny and it was like the top was kind of weird. Like it had like a weird texture to it.
Yeah, it did have a weird texture, and it wasn't rounded off. It was just flat.
Yeah, whereas the 3DS one it's kind of concave and it's
Yeah,
bigger and the Wii U one is even bigger than that one.
even more concave.
Right. Um, so I haven't actually played it a lot. I played a little bit of Street Fighter 3DS,
Yeah.
um, and it was kind of weird to get used to, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that it's
Mhm.
using that instead of the normal analog stick.
I played Street Fighter and the Pilot Wings.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the Pilot Wings like it was kind of I don't know it was there. I'll give it that much. And the 3D it was fun at first, but unless you keep your head in exactly the right position for it, and it makes it a bit more difficult when you're playing it at Best Buy and the system is anchored down.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, was just, I didn't particularly enjoy it. And then like I said, I played Street Fighter, but I've never really been big into fighting games anyhow. So
Hmm. Yeah, me neither. I kind of force myself to like them and get excited about them, but it's just like, eh. If it's not Smash Brothers, Smash Brothers I like because it's really arcadey, and I like arcadey type of games. Like I like Mario Kart better than sim racers because sim racers I think are boring and hard to control. Um, Whereas, Mario Kart's just like balls to the wall fun. You're throwing shells, you're popping balloons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, and I get that too because like for example with the Welcome Back package on PlayStation Network just recently, I got Wipeout HD,
oh yeah.
and I was half expecting to not enjoy it, but when I really got into it, it was it's not just like your regular old racer with a futuristic kick to it. It's got like, your weapons and
Hmm,
but it's a bit more serious than
right.
like, Crash Team Racing or Mario Kart or
I've heard it
Diddy
compared
Kong.
to F-Zero, that series.
I was never really too big on F-Zero as a kid.
Yeah. I tried GX, but it was really difficult. Like, the controls are really twitchy and sensitive.
Mhm. So back to the 3DS and back to Kid Icarus. I was just thinking, the flying sections kind of remind me of Star Fox,
Hmm.
and
Except on crack.
yeah, except on crack. And if Nintendo can create as much fun as I originally like, if they can recreate as much fun as I originally had playing Star Fox 64,
Hmm.
I think they'll be okay
Hmm.
because Star Fox 64 is an incredibly fun game. Even today, go back and play it.
Yeah, that's another game I need to pick up on 3DS when I get my 3DS. I was gonna get it on a virtual console, but then, I was a big fan of the original. I played the original when on the Super Nintendo, and that was pretty fun. I don't think I ever beat it though.
Did you hear at the Nintendo conference when they were playing the reel of a whole bunch of games, and it ended with Peppy yelling, "Do a barrel
Yeah,
roll!"
yeah.
I laughed pretty hard at that.
Yeah, they know, the quotes have gotten into the mainstream popular culture.
Yeah. Overall, I'd say overall, if I was to give this E3 a letter grade, I think I would give it a B, maybe a B minus.
Yeah, I agree with that. If only because there wasn't any like megatons or big announcements or anything. It's
Yeah.
basically what we knew before.
The only real announcement Sony gave was Sly 4, and that one everybody knew was coming.
Right. And Starhawk, but everybody knew that was coming
Well,
too.
yeah, they already announced that one though.
Ah,
Yeah.
Nintendo's big announcement was the Wii U, but they had to announce it, before the conference in order to, you know, kind of block the leaks from
Yeah.
spilling too much. And they didn't really have much to show with the Wii U. It's still probably more than a year off from release, so they could only show tech demos and PS3 360 footage of upcoming games for it.
Hmm.
Um, I don't see the big drama over that. If anything, the Wii U version will look better. Um,
Well, hopefully.
yeah, it was funny. I was reading NeoGAF, and a lot of the comments when that roll of footage came up was, this looks worse than PS3 360
It
version.
looked the same. Like,
Yeah,
and plus it wasn't actually
it's the same
like
thing,
wasn't running through an HDMI cable on your TV or anything
right?
either. It was a recording.
And now we have this news, um, which was posted a few hours ago. This very vague comment that the online of the Wii U is going to be kind of decided by third parties, and there are a couple different ways you can take that, um, and
You
people
can t
are
you can
people are
take it
already
as
freaking out about it.
you can take it as either Nintendo being very open and letting the third parties have their own way and being very open source about it, or you can take it as Nintendo just being lazy.
Right. But then there's also the option. Basically, the way you could read the quote, the quote, it's it's something like, um, will will seek to bring the third party's online vision to life, or something like that. You could
Ah,
take that to mean they they're letting the third parties build their own online networks, or Nintendo's getting feedback from third parties, and then they're going to incorporate that into kind of a global centralized kind of thing.
yeah.
So I mean
Well,
we're
I think that if Nintendo really was to put their mind to it, they could come up with something good, of course.
Right. Uh, but yeah, Nintendo moving into this next generation is going to face some difficulties because they kind of dragged their feet getting into HD, and now
Yeah.
they have to prepare their in-house studios for HD. Reggie said, of course, our studios can do HD, but it's not that easy. You can't just wave your hands and say, "Oh, we're, perfectly ready for HD
We're HD
development."
now.
Yeah,
Everybody start doing HD stuff.
um, HD development is very difficult. Costs exponentially increase, which is why Nintendo held off for it so long. So they're going to face some difficulties there, I think.
They
Um,
certainly have enough money to fund everything.
right, yeah. Um, but then, they also have to completely overhaul their online structure if they want to really seriously attract, the hardcore gamer, which is what
Yeah.
they're touting this E3. The U in Wii U is the hardcore gamer. This console is for you. But if the online is crap, nobody's going to pay attention to it, and people are already freaking out, on NeoGAF. I don't know why I
Yeah,
read that forum.
NeoGAF's constantly freaking out. I don't understand why anybody pays attention to them.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of fun. Um, like, uh, the Devil May Cry E3 trailer, the DMC trailer. Um,
Oh yeah, yeah.
that freak out was
My
pretty
name is
funny.
Dante.
Yeah. Um, there's this video that got posted. It was this guy who was like ranting for 20 minutes against who's in charge of DMC? Capcom. Um,
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it's Capcom.
Capcom. Yeah, I never particularly enjoyed them.
Yeah, he's like ranting against them for 20 minutes. Um,
But yeah, it's Capcom because they did Beautiful Joe too, and the character was yeah.
right.
Oh,
Yeah. Uh,
well, you're gonna have crazy people with whenever any change gets announced in a
right.
video
Yeah.
game series.
But then again, this might be one of the situations where it's
Legitimately,
yeah,
something
legitimate.
bad is happening. Yeah.
And then there's also, that XCOM game. I don't even know the series, but apparently it's changing a bunch of things and people are not happy with it.
I couldn't say I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Um, so,
Uh,
is that it? Are we talking? Are we done
Um,
talking?
well, another thought. I think with the new Wii U controller, I
Hmm,
don't think Nintendo is going to break into the casual market as much as they did this gen.
right,
I don't think they're going to. I think it has potential, like to be the Wii of the next generation,
right.
but I don't think it necessarily will break into that market as well as successfully as they did this gen.
Well, Iwata has already said that it's not going to be cheap. It's going to be more than $250.
Yeah,
So they're going to have real difficulty, at first at least, getting casuals to buy it, and the casuals haven't, um, latched onto the 3DS at all. That could be. I mean, it has a Nintendo's game, but that's kind of floundering. So,
I think the next casual fad is the Kinect, to be honest.
right,
As much as I hate it, because I hate it because I don't think whereas with the Wii, it was casual, but it still had potential to have good games.
right,
I think with the Kinect, the potential of usefulness is much lower than that of
right,
the like Wiimote or the Move or anything like that.
right. Um, yeah, basically with the Kinect, you have to be, on rails or super simple. Um,
Yeah. I mean, did you see any of the tech demos they did with the new? I think it was the new SOCOM game playing with, or no, not SOCOM. That's Sony IP. The Ghost Recon.
where he was like taking the guns apart. I only saw a little bit of
Oh
that.
no, the part where he was fighting, it was so stupid. To fight, he would have a closed fist, and to shoot, he would open his hand. And and like as cool as that is to to just watch somebody else do,
Mm,
who really wants to do that?
mm,
Like it doesn't sound like any fun. It sounds like it's gonna be